Happy 20th anniversary, Saints and Sinners. My name is Colin Lacy. My story, An Ephemeral Eye, was printed in the anthology for the 2022 festival. And I'm so happy to celebrate Pride Month with the Saints and Sinners LGBTQ+ Literary Festival. Please support Saints and Sinners on Give Out Day, June 30th. And right now I'm going to read a segment from the story. We jump right into around the middle, where the main character, it's told in the first person, the main character, a man in his 30s who may or may not look like me, is meeting his childhood hero, a rock star who was known for his quote unquote evil or Satanist rock in the late 90s. So they're meeting for the first time, and we jump right into their conversation. The rock star's name is Adam Sterling, and he opens. Right in here. Come on, I'll show you. He turns and walks to the doorway that opens into the next room. I stand and follow, and we enter into a dining room where a long, rustic wooden table, the kind you might find in a medieval dining hall, fills the room with tall chairs on either side. A single setting waits at the head of the table, complete with a fork, steak knife, napkin, and charger. I thought maybe we could do this together. Oh, I stop as soon as I see it. I shake my head and take a step back. I only do this at home and in private. Even my husband doesn't. He looks hurt, as though I had just denied him his last meal. His voice shakes and his one eye waters. Would it be too much to ask? I'm cornered, and I feel blood rush to my face as I worry that my enthusiasm is being taken advantage of. Determined to hold my ground, while towing the line of not being rude, I say, as calmly as I can, it's kind of a personal thing. Yeah, okay. His head drops, seeing it's pointless to push. His one eye looks away. I mean, I get it. It's just... And then he looks at me, directly at me, not as a famous rock star, but as an old man. With neither of us talking, the silence of the condo drapes over me, along with the loneliness radiating from that single eye. In his sadness, I see the void I'll leave in that condo once I'm home with my family. I see the heartache of an artist who had been put on a shelf to gather dust, whose records aren't selling. As I back away from his dining room table, I represent the dwindling number of those who still play an Adam Sterling song when riding in their car. The silence, the void, is the thousands, if not millions, of former fans who would never play him again. I used to get a lot of visits, you know. Backstage passes, people sneaking past security. I once caught a stowaway on the tour bus, he chuckles. She was nice enough to bring an 8-ball of Coke for each of us. He falls silent for a moment, letting the voice seep in before he continues. You never came backstage. I would remember. I wouldn't have been able to pick you out of the crowd at a show, way too much going on, but in the green room, I remember everyone I met. The parties, the publicity gigs, the private shows, though it didn't matter. You're just the entertainment, you know? After the show, that's where the real fans are. The people who you... I look away and stare at the place setting, and the seconds that pass as long as a title track. Finally, I speak up. I saw 2 of your shows. I would have gone to more. You didn't tour very much wherever I happen to be. Not when I could afford it, that is. Which shows? Well, I waver. One was a couple of years ago. It was in Charlotte, and that was a terrible show. He interjects before I say it. I laugh. Yeah, it really was. You were on stage for an hour and what, maybe you got through 5 songs? I remember. He nods with a furrowed brow. A few of us in the audience figured it had to do with the stage. Maybe the stage was too small for your act? Nah. He shakes his head as though working through decades-old joint pain. It wasn't that. It was that they didn't have enough power wired up. All the plugging, unplugging, different pedals, guitars tuned to different keys, switching out mics on the drum heads, fucking mess. He looks like he's on the verge of reliving a natural disaster. Snapping out of it, with a brief shake of his head, he apologizes. Sorry about that. What was the other? Was it better? It was. 10 years ago, maybe? You were touring with I don't know, another band I used to listen to on occasion. Can't remember which one. That was a great show. You touched on every note. You were on stage for a solid 2 hours, nailing one song after another, constant sound. I can hear my voice booming with the excitement, as, as though it had just happened last night. You hit those nails on chalkboard notes. Tommy was in the back on bass, dreadlocks flying everywhere. Daphne on the drums, whipping drumsticks in every direction, music blasting, oppressive, unforgiving heavy metal. Man, that was awesome. He smiles and simply says, thanks. I point to the place setting. Have you ever bought from someone? I ask, bringing us back to the dining room. With a solemn tone, as though admitting some inevitable fate, he nods. I have. So then you know why it's typically done in private. Gravely, he answers, I do. I know it's a personal experience. People like to feel free to have their own reactions. I hear some masturbate the entire time. A friend of mine said he cried for an hour straight after his first. He shakes his head. It's fine. I shouldn't have put you in that position. I'll go get it for you. Thanks for humoring me. He turns toward the kitchen. I'll tell you what. I stop him. He turns back, surprised, leaning in as he listens with his full attention. This isn't my first purchase. I have a pretty good handle on it. I mean, I extend a hand in his direction. I've never bought from someone quite like you, at which he gives a chuckle. I tend to stretch it out a little bit over time. It gives me a chance to process things without getting too overwhelmed, you know? So maybe, I shrug, if you like, I can start with a small piece here. It might be interesting to be able to ask you about it after I've seen it. Wide-eyed, he bursts out, yeah, and then recomposes himself. I'd really appreciate that. He turns toward the kitchen and disappears past the door as I sit at the table, and then pops his head back into the dining room to ask, do you like it heated? No, chilled is fine, right out of the ice. He nods and vanishes into the kitchen again, and as I text my husband to let him know that I would be a while, I hear Sterling rummaging through his freezer. Plate or bowl, he calls out. Bowl, please, and some tongs if you have them. When Adam Sterling returns to the dining room, he has a small bowl in one hand, tongs in the other. He sets the tongs down next to my fork and then the bowl directly in front of me. And if you want to find out what's in the bowl, you'll have to buy the book. And you can buy it, I believe, on the Saints and Sinners Festival website.